Hello everybody, welcome back to another video. I'm hoping you guys are all having a fantastic day. So in today's video, as you can tell by the title, we will be talking yet again about this potential blizzard. Now I say potential blizzard, it's gonna be a winter storm for sure. Whether or not it's gonna be a blizzard, it's tough to tell because of the characteristics of blizzard, strong winds, plus snow and whatnot. But regardless, I think the message is pretty clear that this thing most likely will be occurring. It's just a matter of where exactly the heaviest will fall and how heavy will kind of the heaviest snowfall be. And again, the region that's going to be most likely impacted by this, it's still varying among the weather models. So this isn't anything that is still, I guess, set in stone, but it isn't something that's completely unsettled and I guess, all over the place. So, and it's good that it isn't, because we're less than 100 hours out from this storm. It's going to be making landfall onto the west coast. With its impacts, I'll be kind of going over what its impacts will be across the west, the Midwest, where you can see rain and snow. And just let me tell you right off the bat, if you're watching this video, I don't want to hold you on here for forever. So if you're here to see whether or not your region is going to see snow from this particular system, it's really anywhere kind of in here that has the potential for seeing some moderate, potentially even heavy snow. But though again, the further south, the more kind of the chances are a bit less. But I do want to say that even after this system passes, if you live across Ohio, Indiana, in the Northeast, or wherever, you may be bummed out. The pattern looks very active, possibly again snowy for similar locations and areas to the east and south of this particular where this system will occur. So it's looking interesting, I think, for the whole entire United States. So yeah, we'll be talking about that. If you do enjoy this video, I want to say before I get into this, consider subscribing, consider liking the video. Obviously, don't do it just because I told you so, right? Check out the channel, check out the other videos, see whether or not you enjoy this type of content. I'm just reminding you to do it. I'm not, trying not to be spammy about it. I'm not forcing you to, obviously. And if you have any comments or concerns, leave them down below. I answer usually the majority of them, if not all. Okay, let's start talking about this. First off, let me show you the GFS and kind of run through what may be the possible scenario with this. So, notice right now we don't have anything. There is no sign of a blizzard, no winter storm. That's why some people, it's like 60 degrees across portions of where the snow may be falling in just a few days. So, I am getting a few comments that are like, how's this gonna occur? There's no way. Where is the storm? Again, it is going to be a bit of a juxtaposition of viewing this system potentially dropping so many inches of snow on top of such warm temperatures that are currently occurring. But definitely, as I push this forward, you will see where the system comes from. It doesn't just randomly appear. Look at the west. If you live across the west coast and you're watching this video right now, you could see that by late tomorrow, so late Monday into very early Tuesday, we do start seeing a lot of that rain hitting the coastal areas of both Oregon, Washington, and California. Obviously that precip won't just stop there. It will continue pressing into the mountains as snow, a lot of rain falling for the coastal areas, much of Nevada, California. It does get shredded up by the mountains. You can see it's a bit less impressive once it moves into, say, Idaho, Wyoming, but the highest of the elevations still get in on some of that precip and it kind of squeeze out what they can. And notice that this low pressure, it's weak as it comes out onto the plains. Peep also this little guy. Some models earlier were forming this into a system of its own, and it will be dropping a bit of precipitation on late Tuesday and Wednesday in the form of rain across the Midwest. This isn't the blizzard or whatnot. This is a separate one. But look, this could drop for my Southern Canadian viewers quite a bit of rain, but really also maybe even some snow for especially cities like Quebec. So that is definitely something that could be something to watch for. Notice really anything north of the St. Lawrence River could be seeing quite a bit of snow. Anything south, not as much, but that does intensify as it pushes off way into the Atlantic Ocean. But look with that system across the Midwest that moves in again on late Monday into Tuesday. By Wednesday during the midday, it is already showering, if you will, with rain and very light snow across northern North Dakota, but anywhere really south of the Canadian border, it is rain. And again, depending on exact track, if it's more of a southerly track at this point, 6 p.m. Wednesday, there could be already snow occurring across Minnesota. This track of the GFS is a slight northern one compared to one that was the 6 hours before this, using the same model. So I'll show you that one as well. Notice really during late Wednesday and into the overnight hours of Wednesday night, it goes into quick intensification. We start seeing the millibars obviously drop. We see intensifying winds, quite a bit of precipitation surging up to the north, and you can see across southern Manitoba, Saskatchewan, and southwestern Ontario, we do see a lot of snow occurring, and this thing continuously. It's not really the quickest moving, but it's not really slow either. It's a pretty potent storm. You can see a cold front right there, definitely delivering a bit of severe weather, especially right there across Iowa on late Wednesday into early Thursday. But that all does get converted into snow as it pushes into the Dakotas, but really just North Dakota, Minnesota, into southern Ontario, Manitoba, and this thing does circle around for a while. There will be quite a bit of cold air. You can see that push of cold air indicated by that blue line, and that is going to turn on the lake effect snow from all the lakes, which requires cool air over warm waters, which both will be present in this scenario. Notice that we do see snow showers across the Twin Cities, across much of Wisconsin, maybe even into Illinois. This is at this point Friday. You can see the cold front is very impressive. It stays strong. So even if you're not getting impacted by the snowy side of this blizzard across the Northeast, you will know that you're getting impacted by this, by the blinding, the rain, sideways type rain, and it's going to be heavy. You can see right there intensifying as it kind of pushes off the coast of the Northeast and also slowing down. As I mentioned, lake effect will be going strong. You can see off the lakes, we do have quite a bit of snow into Michigan, into the UP, and maybe even off Erie and Ontario. Notice that we were talking about this earlier in the week, that this cold front could re-intensify into a system of its own. That seems rather, it's still, the models are kind of disagreeing on that, but it's a potential that this thing might develop and clip, say, portions of Maine or New England with a bit of snow or heavy rain. And you can see that this particular run of the GFS sweeps that cold front off. It's very strong, but it doesn't really intensify anything out of it. Notice that this is now Sunday, late Saturday, Sunday, so that system by itself is gone, but we still have the lake effect occurring. And look, we have a little clipper system which clips portions of Indiana, northern Illinois, Michigan, Ohio. Whether or not this will occur, it's hard to know. This is just one GFS model that does actually end up showing it. Some models don't. And you can see maybe an intensifying coastal storm. We'll have to see, but it's an interesting scenario, and you can see it does end up intensifying just a bit north of our viewing area, and that is just up until 200 hour 216, which we still have a lot more after this to go, obviously, and there's a lot of activity in that time frame. I really won't be focusing on anything after this time frame because again I want to focus on that storm, but I'm just going to show you this for the fun of it. And look, we continue to see events, right? This one's more towards the south. Not as strong, but, again, the models disagree. It does develop into a very strong rainmaker. Whether or not this will be more snow or rain, hard to tell. Again, the GFS itself disagrees with itself every 6 hours. It's kind of the bipolar characteristic of all the models, right? And as I put and now what I want to do is show you the snowfall amounts, obviously, right? Everybody's been kind of wanting this. It's what gets everybody excited. And you can see that, again, I said this is a more northern scenario. So if this were to occur like what I just showed you, it still would drop a lot of snow. Just, again, more across southern Canada, say, again, Ontario, Manitoba, Saskatchewan, northern Minnesota, just northwest of Duluth. Very high amounts, so that thing is powerful. That would be dropping, 10, 11, 15, maybe even 1.5 inches of snow. That obviously, the mountains, you can see, pick up a lot through Monday and Tuesday when that system is still yet to hit the Midwest a bit earlier in time. Obviously, in terms of precipitation, so this includes liquid snow and the rainfall. You can see quite a bit across the mountains, so that's good. They're in a drought over there. They're also in a pretty bad drought right there where the heaviest of the snow may fall, so that's actually good news. And notice that in the next 10, 15 days, whatever, it continues the active pattern, especially look at the Northwest picking up some very impressive amounts of rain. Now, let me show you the new model run of the GFS and show you how it differed, right? And I want to show you, whether or not there was consistency. If there isn't, then it tells us, the track is probably still to change. If it's the same, it's probably not going to change as much. So this is why I like looking back at previous model runs, where it kind of gives you good information. And look, it was similar to what the models show now. It had some differences though. And if you notice that the timing is relatively the same, but what it does is, look, it takes a bit of a slower time across the the northern areas. It brings more snow into areas like Duluth, say, into much of more of Minnesota. Definitely a bit different, but generally the placement of it is similar. You know, it's not showing the system across Michigan. It's showing it across northern Wisconsin, the actual low pressure, which the most recent one you could see right there. There's that difference. A bit more towards the south with the new model run. Whether or not that will continue shifting towards the north or maybe back towards the south or staying the same is just yet to be determined. And look, this one did show quite a bit more rain across the northeast with a slower exit, and look, lots of lake effect following that across all the Great Lakes. So definitely something to be kind of watching for. And if we put this forward, it did also show a very active pattern even after that system. So, yes, with the scenario like this, there would be increased snowfall amounts kind of more towards the United States side of things. You could see very, very heavy snow. You know, that is extremely heavy snow, very aggressive. A lot of snow for the Sierras, you know, 14, 16, 18 inches of snow. Definitely some 2 feet plus amounts as well in isolated peaks. Let me show you the 6 o'clock one. So this is an even different scenario. This is the one model run prior to that. Look at that. That was... Let's not focus on that. Let's focus on this. Look at that. Look how much snow it showed. Again, kind of the southern Canada, especially Ontario and Minnesota. And let me just show you this on radar, that it also was a very interesting system, to say the least. And this was just a few hours ago, really in the morning hours of Sunday, that this model run came out. So you can see how much it varies within just one day. And look, boom, right there. Dropped a lot of snow. That cold front, you could see, clipped more of the northeast right there, and we did have some sort of a strong hybrid clipper system that kind of brings a lot of snow to southeast Canada. And look at this system it produced right there. Boom, another beast. So you could see the models regarding of what happens after the current storm I'm talking about are pretty varied. Even with that current one we are talking about, the snowfall amounts vary from more in northern Minnesota or more of, you know, Ontario or more of Manitoba, Saskatchewan. So, you know, that's what we have to look at. Let's take a look at the Canadian. So this is a good model. If you recall yesterday's video, I was talking about how I preferred the Canadian and the GFS over the European. And ever since then, the European did trend towards more of a Canadian and GFS scenario. So at this point, I would say that all three are pretty in line, and any one of them could be accurate. So you'll notice some differences between the Canadian and the GFS. Look, right there, that system, it's a bit more quick, and it's a way more towards the north. A lot of it's falling north of the U.S.-Canadian line. Obviously, there is some snow that's still going to occur, the wraparound snow showers and whatnot, and very cold air behind it. But again, the heaviest falls to the north. It's much more slower. The cold front does end up developing into a bigger storm right there. Look at that. If a scenario like this were to come true, a secondary storm out of that would have no problem developing. And you can see it says mainly rain according to this scenario, but all we need is a bit more of a stronger trough, and that could kind of develop into more of a snow system. Look at the lake effect. Again, with every model we look at, it's going to be turned on, so that's definitely something to focus on. But look, a lot of rain for the northeast and potentially snow for southern Canada right there. Pretty far north, but there's a clipper system that it showed, similar to what the GFS does, so they're pretty good agreements right there. Agreements, and it does start developing another system around that 240 timeline. Let's take a look at the midnight run of the Canadian model. So let's take a look at how much it changed by itself within a 12-hour period. And look, there's our western storm. By Thursday, it does develop into that beast. And again, this one was a bit more towards the south, you could see. And it did develop that secondary system. And it did develop more snow on the backside of it into Ontario and portions of Quebec. I should say more of Quebec and portions of Ontario. So, yeah, let's take a look at the snowfall amounts from the Canadian that came out at midnight. And you can see that there was quite a bit right there, and decent amounts from that secondary kind of wave of that storm. And if you were to take a look at today's model run, you can see that there is quite a bit of snow, especially from, again, that system. A lot of it is to the north from the Canadian-U.S. border, but you can see, regardless, even if this scenario were to occur, it would be very interesting because of that kind of potential for a more bigger potential for a nor'easter. That cold front would be slower. It would be more towards the north, and that would definitely allow for a re-intensification of a system versus, you know, a more southern scenario like the GFS. This doesn't really allow that system to intensify up until it reaches far into Quebec, which again is kind of a bit out of the viewing area. But Yeah, you can see that it definitely does support a active pattern even following that the models. So those are two models. They're pretty good. You can see the snowfall amounts are impressive. And now this is a European, a very good model. Yesterday I did not prefer it, and now it has adapted towards more of the GFS European scenario. And look, it too shows a very strong system, wraps it around, and it's rather darn progressive. But what it does is that it brings up a lot more moisture kind of from the Gulf of Mexico. So I'll show you this kind of a bit slower now. Notice that as I'll just play it manually. Again, hits the west coast by Monday into Tuesday. It's pretty much out onto the plains, abating its impacts from the west across by Wednesday, early Wednesday. And again, the timing is rather similar. Some severe weather, very heavy rain. Again, eventually does convert into snow. And you can see it's not as far to the north as a Canadian, probably even more southern than the GFS scenario. And look, North Dakota, northwestern Minnesota, maybe even into, you can see South Dakota, just a very large, heavy snow event into Thunder Bay, right? So there's that cold front. You can see it's zooming. It is zooming. This thing is pretty much flipped onto its side. It's a rotation of 90 degrees. And what that allows, though, is this cold front to pick up steam from the Gulf of Mexico right there. And boom, you'll see an explosion of precip across the northeast right there. Boom. And right there. Look at that. And that definitely could, develop a snowy side a bit earlier, more towards the north, towards the south. We'll have to see. The European is definitely more in line with what the Canadian shows in terms of that secondary system. So we'll have to watch for that. And then you can see it does show more activity, potentially another storm developing after that. In terms of total snowfall from the European, it is again rather impressive. Look at that. Across Minnesota, 16 inches across the highest locations of snowfall. Then from that wraparound, we do see lighter amounts of maybe 4 to 3 inches, which is still decent. And in terms of total precipitation, again, it's pretty significant, especially for the northeast, where we do see the intensification of that storm. Notice that where that severe weather threat may take shape, there could be quite a bit of rain as well. And look at the west. That's from several systems, as this is 240 hours out. And yeah, the rain amounts will definitely be nothing short of impressive. Now, I do want to show you that these kind of ensembles. So these are many models that go out to 5 days and show us the total snowfall they expect. So that kind of spans a whole system and nothing else. So you can see that any snow that falls, it's just from that alone system. So we don't have to kind of subtract the potential from a system that occurs further out. If I were to show you the full 360-hour timeline, which obviously shows more snow, but that's because it shows 15 days. This is only 5 days. And notice, look at this one. This one shows more of a southern scenario, Minnesota getting hammered by that into portions of Canada. Again, it doesn't look that impressive, but trust me, that's gonna feel impressive if you're under that. Then there's ensembles that look like that. It's not really as impressive of a storm, either to the north or the south. It's just not really impressive at all. Then there's this one. You can see more towards the west, into the Dakotas, into western Minnesota. Again, more of a weaker scenario. There's a strong one, more of a weaker one, more of a pretty strong one. You can see right there, just a bit further towards the south. This one's nothing really impressive. Let me just run you through them to show you that there's still quite a bit of variance. There's some ensembles like this, right, and then there's some like that, which really isn't impressive. This is more of a Canadian kind of scenario, where it shows heavy snow across southern Canada and not really anything else. And then you can see there's ones that favor more of a kind of a comma-shaped band, potentially again supporting those blizzard conditions under that heavy snow. And you can see that there's quite a bit of variation. We'll have to wait and see exactly. Look at these ones really don't even show heavy snow across the Ontario, Manitoba area. It's really not that impressive at all. So there's still quite a bit of variance, and we'll have to wait and see. And again, all the three main models that we look at that I showed you, the European, Canadian, GFS, all support a scenario that is really similar to kind of this. It's not a weak one, right? Not just one that's like, oh, way to the north. The Canadian's kind of like that, but again, it's not that far to the north. It's more something of kind of this feature, which is why I'm a bit more confident than by looking at some of these ensembles, which not all support the heavy snow event. But again, with the GFS, Canadian, and European all pretty much kind of agreeing, I do think it will be something of this magnitude, which again, anywhere in that purple, that is above 6 inches. Anything above that pink, that is over a foot. So those are decent amounts. And you can see that again, it does stay north of, say, the Twin Cities, most likely. So I've been talking about the system since it's been 240 hours out. So that was pretty far out, right? But at that point, it was a question of whether or not it would occur. At this point, it will occur, most likely. No, yeah, it definitely will. It's just a matter of where exactly, 100 miles to the north, south, etc. And, what the heavy snow will be. Will it be like 6 inches of heavy or like 18 inches, right? Which, again, I'd be more leaning towards kind of the foot, the double digits for sure for a good portion of Minnesota, the Dakotas. So yeah, there's still a lot of details, especially once the high res models start coming in, the ones that go out to 84, which again at this point they're not. It's not far out enough for them. They're just showing the system kind of in its. You can see right there in its early stage. The Canadian or this model, the NAM, really keeps it a rather weak storm actually. So that's interesting to see whether or not it will show any stage of intensification. This is the Canadian scenario. You can see quite a bit of snow to the north. But again, this is kind of where it still is in the process of intensifying. So we'll have to wait and see. But for now, that's it. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll catch you all on the next episode. See ya. Bye.